Hey guys, and welcome in to Artemis Anarchy, whether you're watching it on YouTube or Twitch as I'm recording it right now. How you guys doing today? Let me know in the comments if you're on YouTube, all that good stuff. You guys know the deal by now. Anyway, what we're going to be talking about today is some horror game stuff, and I want to jump into like atmosphere and like jump scares and stuff like that. And specifically, I'm wanting to talk about where's the fear and where they went wrong, and we will also be talking about some more editing stuff that I've found out over the past week again. So yeah, I think the editing's going to be a weekly roundup thing, but yeah, let's jump into it. So like I said in the intro, we're talking about specifically more wares of fear stuff, because I was watching Jacksepticeye play it again, specifically Wares of Fear 2, and kind of what I always felt the problem with, and he pointed it out as well, is that it was trying to do too much at a time. It was trying to be something different while staying the same as what the first game was, and the first game was like you looked around the same place, but like the environment changed all the time, which was a good concept, a good idea. The only thing about Where's the Fear 2 that I did like realistically, was the whole fact that you can actually die in it. Whereas Where's the Fear 1, yeah, you got jump scared, but that was about it. There wasn't anything like groundbreaking about it. You had no like consequence to your action for going the wrong way or doing other stuff where you just there wasn't any real peril like Jedi just said. But yeah, it's all about like what I think for horror games, especially the way I play them. They have to be done very specifically, because like I tend not to get like jump scared real easily at most horror games, because like there's a certain bit of like, you know, music that will start and then you'll be like, oh, here we go, here's going to be a jump scare, or we'll wait about 3 seconds after the intense part of the music comes up and then it'll drop down, it'll calm out, and then jump scare. Like, you know, like you get desensitized to it and it just doesn't, you know, fill that void of like the adrenaline that you get from like getting jump scared or whatever. It's the same with horror movies as well, which I've felt is really like a problem. It's why I've not really watched any horror movies in a while, because like none of them have been good, or they've been like remakes and just like boring really, and you know what's going to happen in them because they're like remakes of a movie or whatever, and it's just Again, if you do have arguments about it, you know what to do. You can comment down below, you can talk as we're talking here. By the way guys, on YouTube we do these podcasts live over on twitch.tv/Artemis141 _141, sorry. You guys should come out and join us here if you want to, you know, because why not? Yeah, exactly. The last horror movie I saw was Rise of Skywalker. I mean, I agree to an extent, but yeah, back to horror game stuff. Especially Where's the Fear 2, like it felt like it was trying to do too much. Like there was references to The Shining, there was references to like a lot of other like horror games or horror movies, and it felt like it was cramming it all into one long game. And the game took about, I think it was about 4 or 5 hours to complete. I can't tell you exact, because I think I did it in like I think it was closer to 4. And like it felt like it was trying to do too much at once. Like if they split them into like shorter horror games that were pieces at a time that had one like continuous story, it would have been easier to, you know, digest. It would have been easier to, you know, have it be one theme in one game that's like say an hour long or whatever. And then like you get other games like Simulacra. When that first came out, when I played it when it first came out, like which wasn't on YouTube or Twitch or anything, when I first played that, it was interesting because it was a different type of horror game. It was a more found footage-esque kind of horror game to it, where you went through someone's phone and like the phone was technically the monster kind of thing. Spoiler alert, by the way, sorry about that, but the game's been out for like 4 years, 5 years, something like that. But yeah, like it was a really interesting game, the first one anyway. The second one got a bit too like trying to prove a point about like social media and all that stuff. Like the first one, I liked it. It was pretty like funny at times, but the second one was completely like, it felt very like cringy and shit, and it just wasn't as fun as the first one. Like obviously like certain characters in the first one were pretty cringy, but they were funny because of how bad they were. Whereas the second one was just, you were just sitting there like, I don't like this, you know, like. But they were still both pretty good. Pipe Dreams, we do not talk about Pipe Dreams because I never actually played that one, but apparently that was a mess. But yeah, I would still highly recommend playing Simulacra, what was the other one called? The one before it, Sarah is Missing, that's what it's called. I would highly recommend playing either of those because they're very different horror games compared to like your first person fucking walking simulator and shit like Where's the Fear 1. But it gives it a very different atmosphere. It does have some the like binaural audio, whatever it's called, you know what I mean, like it changes headphone or what, like each thing. Yeah, like there's a lot of different like horror style games. Wait one second. Yeah, like if I can remember a specific part about Simulacra was there was this part where like Greg, who was the person's phone that you found, boyfriend or something, or ex-boyfriend. Wait, the first person. I've heard of that, and I don't know where I've heard of that before. But like, right, back to what I was saying. I just got distracted by that there. But like, when the person's boyfriend goes up to her door and knocks on the door and stuff, like a knock happens at that exact time as he's saying he's knocking on the door, and it was just perfect. But if you're trying to find out where you're sitting in the room, it kind of fucks with you a bit as well, because like sometimes there will be a knock on this one and then it will be on this one and then there'll be a breath going behind you and everything, and the game was just so well thought out. But it did feel better on like actual mobile like if you went on your actual phone and did it, it was a lot more fun. Because if you just sat somewhere like in like a room or something and did it by yourself, it was amazing, especially if you had headphones on that can do the binaural audio stuff, and it was just so, it was well done. The first one was very well done, whereas the second Simulacra was like, if you played the first one, you knew what was happening, obviously. So that took kind of an edge off of it. And like, there were little nods here and there to the first one, but like mainly the stuff was like very focused on like people that are influencers and stuff, and that they made a deal with the Rippleman or whatever it was actually called in that game, which was the Simulacra, which was still like, you know, that part. And then they tried to get meta and just go, ooh, beware of social media. Not like we didn't know that already. There's enough sketchy people on the planet. We already knew that. It was still an interesting idea, but I think they took it a bit too... tried to be a bit too meta with it, you know? Like, they tried to call it out too much, which I do like, but like, they should have toned it down just a little bit, because it was a bit in your face about it the whole time. But like, yeah, aside from that, it was very good, like, you know, gameplay wise. Yeah, exactly. It was trying to be too much in your face about it. That's exactly what it was. But like, if I could, like, wipe my memory of like the first Simulacra and go and play that again, I absolutely fucking would, because it was just good. It was like a really like decent game. It was interesting because it wasn't quite the, you know, it wasn't quite the horror game that was you know, anything like new. Well, it was actually pretty new at the time, because it was like coming from your phone and all that stuff, and it was like a found footage kind of situation, you know. I would highly recommend also playing Sarah is Missing as well. It's by the same people, but Sarah is Missing came before Simulacra, which Sarah is Missing was the test for Simulacra to be made, to see how people would react to it, because obviously it's a new type of, it was a new type of game. Like, it was a, you know, you found a phone and it was just a heap of you know, shit. You know, like a heap of shit just kept happening while you were, you know, messing about on this lost person's phone, and then you found the person, and then something happened, and then it did get very basic towards the end, but it was still good, you know. And I do love like those games that aren't quite like your classic horror, that are just like jump scare after jump scare after jump scare. I prefer the horror that builds up that tension a lot and then gives a good ending, not just like straight away, oh, I'm gonna jump scare you here, there. Like Simulacra, again, Simulacra had a lot of jump scares in it, but they felt a bit more well timed, you know. Like, they didn't feel like they were lost like in the middle of anything, you know. Like, it was a fun game to play. I think that's also my problem with some horrors as well, is that I'm wanting them to do something new. I'm wanting them to come up with these new ideas, these new type of jump scares that aren't just, you know, playing in plain sight and you're just walking around and then, oh, here's something that'll kill you. And that's what I felt with Layers of Fear 2 was a problem, was that the first couple of times, yeah, cool, it was a bit scary, like, because you actually had like a consequence if you started like just standing around for ages. But like, once you got killed by it like twice, it was more of a hindrance than like actually anything like good. But like, again, I wouldn't mind it if they did like a Layers of Fear type game where like it does the whole like switch in the environment, but you're going around the same ways all the time. Like you open one door, you close it, and then you open it again, and then it's a different, like completely different environment. I wouldn't mind that as a horror game, but mix that with something that like gives you good consequences and good jump scares at the right time. And it just makes sure that it gets that tension and jump scare and consequence balance. Yeah, that's what I meant by tension, to be honest, was atmosphere. Like, yeah, it has to be well balanced, which my opinion is on Outlast then is. I enjoyed Outlast. Again, it was like, it wasn't too like in your face about jump scares. Was there a couple of jump scares that I found that were really like, that were a bit boring for me personally, because like I tend not to get too scared by it, but like at least there was like, I don't know, it felt like there was a lot more of a tension because you could not defend yourself in any way. And like it had that mix. Yeah, they made me feel a little uneasy and stuff, like especially the second one, just because like, you know, stuff that happened in it. Like but it was a more, I don't know, I felt like at the end of it, reconnect your damn Twitch. What do you mean? Hey Citrus. What do you mean? Oh, do you mean, wait, am I not showing up as, oh, Discord? Yep, I knew what you meant the second you said it. My Twitch is connected to, or it should be, because like it says it down here. Yeah, like it's on, and then it's on in my server, but like in the basement it's just, yeah, it's there. It should be there. Yeah. Orange just now. Yeah. Yeah, aside from getting sidetracked from that, what was it? What was I saying? Outlast, right. Yeah. Like, Outlast was very, like, atmospheric. I felt like in the first one, like, even if it came to be, like, a part, it was a trigger. Stop getting sidetracked. Shush. Shush. I mean, that's what a podcast is, right? You're talking shit and you go on massive tangents for, like, an hour, right? Like, that's how the professionals do it. He is right there, to be honest, Cryptic. Citrus is always a sidetrack. I'm not going to say what I thought when I said that, but if you know, you know. If you don't, well, that's a you problem, not a me problem. But yeah. There's a lot of like, nah, shit. What was it? Now I've fucking lost my train of thought again. Literally. Outlast. Right. Back to it. Right. The point I'm trying to get across before I get sidetracked again, even if like the ending for Outlast 1 was that you were like if you were like, this was all happening in your head inside the facility, inside the like asylum, and like you were just having a mental episode or whatever, that would have been a cool way as well. Because like, even in like it would have been a twist that I wouldn't have been bothered by, because it would have made sense for that specific game. For Outlast 1 it would have made sense because it would have, but again, I'm glad it didn't come out that way because it wasn't, I can't remember the ending exactly because it's been a while since I played it, but like, I know the ending was good, and I'm glad it didn't come out that you were just trapped in the asylum yourself and you were just imagining all this shit and all that. But like, again, it would have been an acceptable trope to be in that game, because it felt like there was a lot more hints towards that, but there wasn't at the same time, if that makes any sort of sense. But like, yeah, it's just, there's a lot of you have to, again, the atmosphere in Outlast was phenomenal. Like, for as little as you could see of it, that I loved the atmosphere in it. And that might be just me. Outlast 3 will be a prequel. That could work. What is one horror game you won't play then because it's too scary? I'll play any horror game. I will play any horror game. I don't think I've found a horror game that is too scary. Like, the scares aren't what get me really. The jump scares give me a bit of a startle, but that's about it. You know, like, if you can find me Outlast 2, I still haven't beaten it, but yeah, that's what freaked me out a little bit about Outlast 2. It gave me a bit of the creeps, but I still work with it. Outlast Trials isn't upcoming psychological or survival video game developed and published by Red Barrows is yep. Serving as a prequel to the first games and features test subjects and. So is this gonna be like is this gonna be like oh, what was, like, I know the whole ghost thing, but is that gonna be like to do with him? I can't remember his name. It was I know it was in the first one. It was a big ghost you like ran away from in the end of Outlast 1. But I'm assuming it has something to do with him or his mother or something like that. Or maybe even the scientist behind it all and everything. Maybe. Actually, that would make more sense. Outlast series has got okay. I don't know how I feel about that then. If it goes through... Right. If it goes to multiplayer, as long as it keeps the same, like, tension that you cannot fight. You cannot, like, attack or anything. If it goes multiplayer and you can't attack with anything, you can't, you know, do anything like that. You're still, like, defenseless. You're still in a realistic horror situation where you don't have weapons. I will be okay with it. But if it starts where you're allowed to, like, attack and all that stuff, no, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it if it's going to do that, you know. Whereas if it's a multiplayer thing and like it even uses your mic, right? Say you have to be quiet at some parts and you make noise on your mic. Like, if it does that when you're talking on the, like, multiplayer. Kind of, yeah. Yeah, exactly. What Sirius said. The defensive was, yeah, is what makes Outlast Outlast. But yeah, like Phase, like that, but on a more, I guess, there's a lot more consequence to it, or feels like there's a lot more consequence to it, if that makes sense. Like, I'll explain what I mean, because like Phase technically has a consequence, but like it's nothing like scary, if you know what I mean. But like I would also like it to have like, it picks up the mic, but like it attracts the person that way, so you can use one of you as a distraction while the other one sneaks around, and then the other one sneaks around, and then is, again, that's what I was getting to as well. Under the right conditions, it's okay. But again, for you, it would be terrifying, especially if I'm the one causing all the noise, because I tend to get people killed. Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay, let's be... Actually, I'm going to be very specific. If Outlast goes multiplayer, the mic thing, yes, works. Perfect, right? This is ideal, right? It is not PvP. It's PvE. It's co-op. It has a story. But you can also play it single player. You know? Like, that would be the ideal situation, right? So like, say the mic works. If you're with two people, then that makes it easier, because one of you can make noise, attract the thing over, and then one sneaks around, makes noise, attracts the thing over to them, and then it's just shot about all the time. Of a way of sneaking around, like it's a thing. Or that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Like, so long as it works. And that's like the hardest thing. Did I have to talk so loud? I can hear them through my fucking headphones, and they're downstairs. That fixed stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I've never liked Dead by Daylight, to be honest. Like, it's not been anything like... It's an interesting idea, but like... Again, people get so fucking toxic in games. And then start being cunts, and then... Yeah. Like, I would rather have a game where you can like mess about with it. It's fun as a killer bit too. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't... Double question. Scariest horror game you've ever played and the worst game you've ever played. So by well, I know what you mean by scariest. By worst, I'm assuming like the one that I've been the most underwhelmed by, because I can answer that one straight away. Layers of Fear 2. It's been the worst one I have ever actually played myself. Scariest horror game. Alien Isolation's probably been the only one that actually got me properly. But like, I wouldn't say it's a scary horror game though. It just got its jump scares right. And that's what made Alien Isolation so good. Like, that's what made me like it, is that it actually got stuff right. But scary, as in like actual scary, again, I would say Layers of Fear 2 because it's scary how far you have to go back every time you get fucking killed. But I guess that's technically a cheat answer, and it's a bit of a piss take of an answer. If I had to classify by like jump scares and tension, maybe Man of Medan and House of Ashes, but I'm not fucking playing Little Hope. I'm not touching Little Hope because Little Hope is shit. Yeah. House of Ashes, from what I've seen, which a lot of what I've seen of House of Ashes was when, yeah, exactly, like, the first, like, 10 minutes of it, of Little Hope, got me intrigued, and then, oh shit. I kind of want to get Until Dawn for, like, my PlayStation, because, like, I can do the capture card. Because, like, again, I've seen Until Dawn 100 times, but, like, there's some choices that I definitely would make differently for some of them. But, like, again, it just doesn't, like, again, that would be more of a just to have a bit of fun with, you know? Like, I'd probably end up doing, like, Until Dawn on, like, for YouTube or something as, like, a little mini series kind of thing. But yeah, yeah, exactly what Citrus said. Like, the choices feel like the choices actually affect what happens. Yeah, Until Dawn's separate from the anthology, but aren't they all, like, in the same, like, universe? I'm assuming. Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? They're all in, like, the same universe kind of thing, but, like, obviously happening at different, same studio and all that stuff. Yeah, like, again, those types of games where there's actual fucking consequence, I fucking love. Like, I love having a choice-based game, and yeah, exactly. Like, I love having a choice-based game where you can either fuck up royally, be semi-okay, or, like, just have genuine fun with it and get, like, you know, have some fun with it. That made sense. I just repeated myself twice and hope it made sense, didn't I? Actually, I want to check something as well. We are doing this mid-podcast, but I want to check this. But I will keep it, because, like, I want to play, I can't remember what it's called. Give me a sec. I don't know how I couldn't remember what it was called. Okay. No. Where is it? You play? Hey kids, how you doing? There we go, that's what I was looking for. What was I looking for? There's a... Yeah, I want to actually kind of get the first Life is Strange and do, like, a playthrough of it myself. Like, obviously I'd do it for, like, YouTube or something and just do it all in one, and then, like, or we'd do it on a stream, but I wouldn't have chat up or anything. I'd play it like I was playing, like, a YouTube video, if that made sense. But yeah, I want to play the first one. don't want to play the second one. The second one was okay. Like, I've watched both of them, I know what happens, but I feel like, again, I would get a completely different ending compared to what I've seen. And I know that for a fact because hindsight is always 20/20. But I would still play it because I know what choices I could make to make it more fun and stuff. Yeah, I feel like it's trying to build to something, and I have a feeling it's not going to be great. Like, obviously you've got Max and her powers, if, you know, she lives or whatever. No. And then I think canon wise, she saves Chloe or whatever, because like Life is Strange 2, yeah, and then Life is Strange 2, I don't know what the canon ending for that is, if Daniel survives or if they both survive, or Sean dies and Daniel survives, or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it feels like they're trying to go down that route. And it feels like they're really trying to. If they don't do that, fucking great. If they do decide to do that, even though as someone who's not like played them through properly, but like watch the whole thing, all that stuff. Even if they go down that route, if they do it right, it can work well. But because Captain Spirit's part of Life is Strange as well, eh? Yeah. But again, yeah, like there's a lot of yeah, because he's involved with like Sean and Daniel for like the first, like, is it episode 3 or whatever of Life is Strange 2? I would have liked to see like a more in-depth, like narrative of like what happened to like Max and Chloe, like aside from a little mention from what's his face, the security guard. You know who I'm on about. I can't remember his actual name. Was it David? Yeah, I think it was David, right? That was the security guard. Something like that. But yeah, I would like it to be more than just yeah. The dick that turns out not to be as much of a dick by the end of it. Yeah. Yeah, like, but you can also see where his paranoia comes from though. Like, obviously being in a war, if you've never been in a war, you don't know what it's like, you know? Like, I couldn't tell you what it's like, obviously. It's kind of obvious. But I think there was more of a reason to his paranoia. And I think his paranoia is what saved Max as well. Because, like, obviously, you would have noticed Nathan's doing something or something like that, blah, blah, blah. Fucking hell. Fucking hell, Citrus. Of course it did. Of course it did. Always does, man. But, like, yeah. Again, like, I like that that Life is Strange wasn't afraid to talk about the mental health side of things and all that shit, and obviously, you know, depending on your choices, it was a lot more apparent than others. you know? And no, I liked that they weren't afraid to, like, you know, talk about that, or, you know, it also gives a more of a realism to their powers though, as well. Like, even like Daniel's side of, like, well, Daniel's story in 2 and stuff, like, he's what, 10 in it? 9? It's like from 9 to 10 or whatever. But like, he's like roughly around that age. He's still a kid and he's got these powers. Like, at least it shows that, like, different perspectives from where, like, each person is in life. Obviously, like, Sean's the older brother, and he can tell that these powers are obviously going to get to Daniel in some way, and he's trying to, if you do it right, he's trying to teach him to use the powers and not let them control him, and control the powers but not let the powers control him, in a way. And like, you do see that, like, kind of coming through. Whereas, like, when you look at Max, when she has her powers, she doesn't, like, she understands that she's messing with time and reality, but it doesn't kick in. Like, it doesn't, like, click in her brain straight away until she messes it up, and obviously it saves Chloe's dad, and then everything changes and all that stuff, and then that just goes completely, you know, flipped upside down. But like, it shows that their powers will always have consequence. It doesn't shy away from the fact that not every superpower is a gift, you know? Like, it has some realism, and I do like it when games do that. They add a bit of realism to their, you know, supernatural kind of side of things, or their powers, or like, there's actual consequence, you know? Like, I'll also say, like, I'm trying to think of other games that kind of do that really well. Again, like, the Dark Pictures anthology tends to do that pretty decently. Like, even Little Hope had that kind of, like, there was actual consequence to your actions, but, like, obviously that was underwhelming story-wise. But mechanics-wise and stuff, like, everything like that is what I prefer in a game. Is like, obviously, like, you guys know I like my first-person shooters and all that stuff, but I prefer story-driven games. It's just, I prefer to do them in my own time, or do them for YouTube, because I feel like some story games especially are a lot more, like, there's a lot of bits of silence and stuff. But like, there's a lot of you know, if they can get the storytelling right and the choices right, that's what makes it good. Whereas if you've just got a choice-based game that doesn't really have much consequences, that's when it gets boring, you know? Like, yeah, there's a few parts of, like, a lot of the games I've played even, that I've just enjoyed because either the story's been really good, the characters have actually been, like, you know, felt like they're real people, if you know what I mean. Like, they actually have fucking emotion and aren't just a mindless NPC. Obviously they are, but yeah. Telltale, see, I never played any of the Telltale games because they weren't, yeah, I just couldn't get into Telltale. like, I felt like they were, I don't know, there was something about them that I didn't like. I didn't mind watching them, like I didn't mind watching other people play the Telltale games, like they were okay to watch, but like there was something always about them that kind of put me off of them, and I don't know what it was. Like, yeah, your actions had consequences, but like, especially with like, obviously we'll use the Walking Dead ones, we'll use Lee as an example. Like, I can't remember what season it was, he, you know, bit the bullet, proverbially speaking, depending if you two. Yeah, like, Lee was like, it felt like by that, like, it, from what I seen anyway, it felt like that was already predetermined. Did work around your actions was, yeah. Like, there's a few of them, but again, it has to get, firstly, the atmosphere and what it's talking about right, and then getting the choices to reflect those like actions and stuff as well, right? If you know what I mean. Like, the choices that you pick have to make sense with the situation your character's in, you know? Like, obviously I'm no fucking game expert or anything, I just like certain stuff about games. Like, certain mechanics work really well with certain types of games. Like, hell, I'll even say it about VR Resident Evil 4. Do I think it works? Not really. It's still fun to play in VR. It's a fun game in VR. But it doesn't work in a way, like if you put Resident Evil 7 and 8 in VR, works perfect. It makes sense because you're in that first person like view all the time. But like for 4, you're in and out of like third and first person view a lot in the VR set anyway. Because like obviously they can't animate you doing fucking kicks and everything, it's spin kicks and stuff. But like with what they had, it's still a good game. It's just not, it's a very hit and miss game with people, because again, they cut out some parts and stuff like that. But it can work if you do it right, is what I'm really saying. You just gotta make sure it works. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Like, even like when I'm recording like a random game for YouTube, right? I'll actually use today's video that just went up like an hour ago-ish as an example. It was clear just chaos, but I had fun with it. Like, certain games know what they are, and they know that some people will just use them as pure chaos and ensue as much chaos as they can and just have fun with the game. But then they'll also know, like, once you get that mix, you know, like, obviously the game I'm talking about, that was just senseless fucking fun. There was no seriousness in it at all. But like, there are certain games like, I'll say, what could I use? Like, I wouldn't say like Saints Row 2 or anything, but like something like Saints Row-esque. So like, not serious, but not, I'd say Saints Row 3 is probably the best one to use as an example here, is that there's seriousness in the chaos. Because like, obviously, if you haven't played Saints Row 3, A, highly recommend you go play it. B, spoiler alert, technically. And obviously, if you haven't completed it, I'm going to talk about a bit of Central 4 as well. So, yeah. So, like, Central 3, obviously you've got your chaos, you've got your mini games, like your side missions that are like Genki Bowl or Professor Genki or whatever, and that is just senseless violence. That's it. It's chaos and violence. Same with some of the weapons. Obviously, like certain bats and stuff like that, they are just stupid weapons. But if you take it serious in a serious kind of gameplay aspect, it's also a good game. Yes, there's still some of that silliness because, again, I felt like 3 was finding its footing, and it almost found it, and then 4 fucked up for me personally, because they added superpowers and aliens, and it just But like, obviously you've got this whole thing of landing in a new town and basically starting the Saints up again, but in Steelport with a bit of knowledge. Like, you're actually acknowledged as a leader of like Saints, or you're like an actual problem to the rival gangs. You're not just new in town with these rival gangs that just want to kill you because you're new to the town or whatever. They actually know like some of your background. They know about Stillwater. They know about everything that happened over there. But like, they'll never, I don't think, like, Central, especially with the reboot coming, which I'm hoping is the perfect mix, but like, Central 3 was silly and serious, but it wasn't mixing well together. I hope for the reboot, it has that like seriousness of, I would say, Central 2, like story wise, and then still have some of the silliness, but just dial it down like 5% of what Central 3 was. As long as it doesn't go Central 4 and starts going, oh, there's aliens now, there's superpowers, you're in a simulation, you're in the Matrix, you're a fucking, you know, this super powerful being that's basically invincible like 10 minutes into the simulation. Like, even on like the harder difficulties of like Central 4, especially near the end, if you did all the side quests, like all the side missions, all the activities, all of that before you did the end mission, it took like 10 minutes to finish the game. If you had all that done, you were OP as hell. You didn't even have to use a single bullet by the end of it. Like, I remember doing it on hardcore and I did it with like fists, like the full game, aside from like the parts where it like makes you use guns and stuff. But like, I was using fists a lot of the time, and just like super speed run, boom boom boom, just like those like 4 or 5 people there, super speed, slam them into the ground, punch the next one, punch the one behind you, and then just, you know, kill the rest or whatever. And yeah, like melee weapons and fists were more useful than the guns themselves, because you had your super strength and all that in Central 4. So hopefully, what I'm hoping for at the most is that you get some of the sillier weapons from Central 3. Like, hopefully it, you know, makes it so that there's still fun in it. It's not like a GTA clone or whatever, like Central 1 and 2 were. Like, Central 2, the reason it's my favourite compared to 3, until Reverse Fellowship, yeah. Yeah, Detroit become human as well, right? But yeah, there was a lot of things. I can't remember what I was saying now. I threw myself off there, to be honest. Saints Row, right? Yeah, it's the reason I like Saints Row 2 better than Saints Row 3 is because there were certain mechanics in it, like you could pick up things off the street and just lob them at people, you know. And like, there's a lot of that stuff that was very funny to me because you were just throwing like big bins at people. And yes, bins. I don't care if the game said trash can on it. I'm calling it a fucking bin. Cough, cough, Citrus. Oh wait, no, Citrus agrees with me on that. Never mind. Yeah. But in the game it does say trash can, but again, it's a bin. It's a metal bin technically. But you got to throw shit like that. Whoops. I forgot you agreed. It's garage you don't agree with. But yeah, again, saying like I missed that part from Saints Row 3. If Saints Row 3 had the thing where you could pick up like bricks and tires and stuff like that, then Saints Row 3 would have been my favourite. But because Saints Row 2 had that specific mechanic, it was just fun. And yes, Kesha and I will attempt manual and like I'll do it once I wrap up the podcast, you know. Because we do still have to talk about editing, which will probably take about 5 minutes anyway. Because there's only a couple of things I wanted to talk about editing wise. And that is well, today like I had recording problems, like the video stopped recording like halfway through. Yeah, no problem, Catherine, no problem. Yeah, so like when I was editing today, when I was recording today, I forgot to change the save space to be like on my Z drive, which is the bigger hard drive, and obviously it cut off like mid recording. But yeah, wait, I cut that. I will say my cutting of that video today was banging. It wasn't edited too much because I didn't need to add too much editing to it because I wanted to keep it a bit more fresh, and it was just like a 20-minute video or like a 19-minute video at the end of it, so it wasn't too bad. 19 minutes, well, I'd say 20 minutes because it's 19 minutes 43 seconds, but not the point. That but again, I got the cut so perfect that it actually didn't look like it was cut. It was just perfect, you know. I didn't even have to L cut it to make it like smooth because there wasn't like any like cut off points or anything that I had. So like I didn't have to put a little bit of like the first bit's audio into the second part because like it just flowed that naturally together. Whereas if I was doing a talking video that was similar to the podcast and I was cutting parts where I do my blah 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 blah, or like I give a big exposition about something going aside, like tangent. If I was doing a talking video just like this and talking towards the camera and stuff, that's when I would do my L cuts and J cuts and stuff like that, because it does just make that flow a little better, you know. But you've got to be dead accurate with your J cuts, L cuts, all that stuff. But for games, you don't really need that quite, just because it is more of a, I guess, well, you can have them for certain games, especially for games that are open world and stuff. But like, don't overuse any of your cuts. Like, there's one thing that I noticed when I started editing that I started doing a lot, and that was fade in cuts. And like, I was fading it in between two different cuts and two different clips that were completely separate from each other, and it didn't make sense. But that's also a tip for anyone who's like, just don't use fade-in cuts unless you know what you're doing with them. I don't even know what I'm doing with them properly yet, but I'm getting a better idea when to use them and stuff. Like, I probably could have used a fade-in cut today when I was doing that whole part that flowed so well together. As long as the fade-in makes sense, it's okay to use it, but don't overuse them either. You know, it's the same with any type of cut and any type of edit you add to it. Just don't put too much of the same thing in. Like, most of my like edits are very basic, they're very easy to do, but like I do add in a bit of complexity when I'm needing it. When I feel like it's needed, it gets used. When I feel like it doesn't need used, it just gets what it needs, you know. It doesn't like need to be highway like, you know, amazing 10 out of 10, takes 10 hours to edit for a video that'll be like 10 to 15 minutes depending. Like, obviously the last few ones that I've done have been over that 15-minute mark, but like, don't spend hours on end trying to edit one part and then editing the rest. Edit, get your cuts done, get your camera positioning done, get all that stuff done and out of the way first, and then go back, and if you have time, go back, have a look at your full video, watch the full video, do whatever you want with it, but make sure all that stuff's done at the end. Like, leave your fancy stuff for the end. Do all your easy and basic stuff at the start, get all that out of the way, and then all your complex stuff that you want to take your time on, you put that at the end. Obviously, if it's your own YouTube stuff, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, as long as you know what you're doing, you're fine, basically. But yeah. Also, this week's question as we end off, because I forgot to do it last week or the week before or whatever. I sometimes remember to do it, I sometimes don't. Seeing as we were talking about horror games for a decent bit and choice-based games, what's your favourite horror game and what's your favourite choice-based game? And yeah, obviously YouTube guys, let me know down in the comments below and all that shit. People that are watching on Twitch as we're recording this, just let me know, you know, just whenever. But yeah, so that's been Artemis Anarchy. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of this, your weekly, you know, bullshit. I don't know what else to call it. I'm being real. I just, like, this is a fun thing for me to do, just to talk with like you guys and all that stuff. And yeah, the podcast's definitely getting better every week, and I've noticed that it has been getting a lot better. Like, I'm getting a lot more like ideas as I'm going along, and I'm not going too long, if that makes sense. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's been Artemis Anarchy, Twitch and YouTube's #1 professional podcast in the world. You know, remember, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It helps out the channel. I appreciate it, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys either next week for the next podcast or in the next video of whatever I do as well, and or maybe on stream. Come hang out, twitch.tv/Artemis_141. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a bit, and peace.